This question is like the atom bomb of SAT questions. It is a question of mass destruction. It is built to mess with you and to confuse you. It is a perfect storm. There's a lot of analogies I can use, and let's just get to it and you'll see why, right? I mean, first of all, the first sentence of this question. On Tuesday, Jennifer will mix crunchy grain cereal with super grain cereal for her breakfast. They really needed to name them like the same thing, crunchy grain and super grain. That already is confusing. And so here's another one of those cases where I sense trouble. I see that it's very likely that I confuse these two, so I'm going to put into place some steps to help me avoid the confusion. So, big picture strategy for this is let's show our work, right? There's too much information moving around. There's too many confusing things. I need to be very clear about what I'm dealing with. So they talk about super grain in this question. We're going to call it SG, right? Because that's simpler than super grain. So super grain provides 240 calories per cup. So SG is 240 calories per cup. Now we're also asked about crunchy grain, and they do talk about crunchy grain here. So here they say the nutrition facts in the box state that a serving size of the cereal is 3/4 of a cup. That provides 210 calories, 50 of which are from fat. I don't care about that. But crunchy grain has this weird thing going on. So what would I do? Well, kind of annoying that that's 3/4 of a cup and this is per 1 cup. But I'm going to write it as stated. Let's show our work. Let's get it out of there first. So here, I'm going to say that crunchy grain is 210 calories per 3/4 of a cup. Let's just write it like that. I could put it as a decimal, but let's just leave it as that. Okay. Now what? If the total number of calories in 1 cup of Jennifer's mixture is 270, how much super grain cereal is in 1 cup of the mixture? Okay. Here's a case where I would guess and check. I could build an equation, but I'm already lost. The things are too similar. I don't trust myself. And so I would rather work with numbers and just take it one step at a time instead of trying to build an equation where I've got to take all of this stuff into account all at once. And if I mess one thing up, I'm not going to notice it. So let's guess and check. Let's pick an answer choice and see what happens. And I always pick B to start. I don't pick A or D because I don't want to pick the smallest or the biggest numbers because I want to know if something goes wrong, whether I should move up or down. So I want to pick B or C because they're in the middle. And I always pick B because I know that you always pick C. For whatever reason, people always like to start with C, and I think that the SAT is kind of playing this weird game where they know that, and so they make it the other one, or they, don't make it C when something is tricky because they know that's what you're likely to guess. This might just be me being paranoid, but I swear to God here, I would pick B to start, just kind of as my normal guess and check. And I know I'm making a big deal about that, but let me show you why. So let's try B. In fact, let's just do a different color. Let's make it really clear what we're doing now. So B is 1/4 of a cup. Of what? Of super grain. Okay, so 1/4 of a cup of super grain is going to be easy for me to find because 240 calories per cup means I can just take 1/4 of 240 and figure out how many calories that is. I also know that I want 1 full cup of the mixture. So very conveniently here, 3/4 of this mixture, 3/4 of a cup, are going to be the crunchy grain, CG. And the rate they gave me for CG is in 3/4 of a cup. So I don't need to do any conversions here. 3/4 of 1 cup, I'll do this, is 210 calories. That's what they gave me. I don't need to convert anything. So let's do the math. So here, this would just be 210. That's a substitution. Substitute. For the other one, though, we got to do math. So let's take 1/4 of 240. You probably can do that in your head, but I'm going to do it on the calculator because why not? That's 60. And what do those add up to? Those add up to 270. And why does that matter? Well, that's what it's supposed to add up to. 270. I just proved the answer. I got lucky. I picked B, and it worked. Now, if I had tried C at first, it would have made things more difficult. I might have had to convert crunchy grain into a actual usable ratio so that I could take 2/3 of it. But I don't have to do that here because I guessed and checked, and it worked out. And yeah, that's why I picked B, because I think that's not a coincidence. And again, maybe I'm just being paranoid, but it worked out here, so I'm not going to ask too many questions. But notice that because I was guessing and checking, I didn't need to come up with an equation. I was able to kind of just do it one piece at a time, and notice that I had the thing I was looking for. I don't think if I had an equation, I'd notice that. And so I probably would have done a lot of algebra that was unnecessary for getting this question right. So there are benefits to things like guess and check. They avoid careless mistakes, but they also avoid unnecessary algebra a lot of times. And people who are nervous about using my strategies, they always say, oh, well, the algebra's faster. Sometimes they're right. Sometimes I'm right. Sometimes the strategy is faster. So you shouldn't go based on that. Get comfortable with the strategies, and then if you really want, you can choose whether to do algebra or the strategy depending on the situation. But you got to get good enough at the strategies first that they're fast. Otherwise, you're just going to keep making the same mistakes, doing the same old algebra. And I think that that's why people go wrong on this question.